Hey, it's Rob Hefner for the Talk of the Town, hanging out here at the Town Hall of Pinetop-Lakeside. And I've got with me today Mr. Keven Rodolph. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, thanks.
And it's Rodolph, sorry.
Rodolph.
Rodolph. And you are the assistant town manager and the...
Finance director.
Finance director. Okay. Awesome. So we're going to talk over last council meeting, D.5, because there was a little bit of confusion from a lot of people. And it was confusing because they went into executive session and they came back out. I want to explain real quick. The D4, they went into executive session. They came back out of executive session, and that had to do with a pending or a lawsuit, actually, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the reason they had to come back out and then go back into executive session is because everything in the public's got to be done in front of the public. So they couldn't just go in and do two things. They had to come back out, do another item, and then go back in.
Correct.
So D5, can you give us sort of an overview of what was actually, why the reason that existed and what it was about?
Okay. D5 had to do with the referendum and what council needed to decide. There were two issues on whether the council could move forward with the date of May to have the referendum election.
Right.
So the first issue had to do with the language of the ballot question.
Right.
There is a state statute that says whenever there's a ballot question referring an action of the council, the language should be worded that yes vote is to affirm what the council passed, which was the resolution on the future land use map. Now, having said that, there's also an attorney general's opinion that the question can be worded differently if that's what the people referring the item want.
Right.
And all we had heard at that point was that the group wanted the resolution repealed.
Right.
And so staff wrote the question such that shall the resolution be repealed.
Right. And some confusion, of course, arose from that, both on both sides of the people receiving the referendum, the people giving it. So basically, that was one thing that we had to consider. You know, does that affect this, and what do we do? And then the second item was what?
The second item was one of the referring group's people alleged that there possibly could have been a conflict of interest whenever the Planning and Zoning Commission passed referring that item to the council. And because there was an alleged conflict, we had to give the commissioner time to consult an attorney and to find out what she wanted to do. It's a complicated issue because there's not a conflict if there's nothing to be gained from the action.
Right.
And so we had to give the commissioner time to consult her attorney.
But ultimately, it's the commission's decision, or the commissioner's, decision. So she has to decide that, right?
Right, okay. Right. The staff can't decide. There's no way staff can know what all the commissioners have going on. So the commissioner herself or himself has to declare whether or not they have a conflict.
Okay, so that's an issue. Back to the question issue. If we rush it, then everybody's kind of confused moving forward. Okay, right?
Correct.
Okay, so if we pause it, give it a minute, and instead of running this election, which was going to have to occur on
in May.
In May, okay. That meant we had to have all the things had to be in by February 12th, and we were just up against the wall of getting it done, right?
Correct. The big problem, we had already published the call for arguments in the paper.
Right.
And once the town gets the call for arguments, we have to send it to a translator and have all the arguments translated. And we did not have time to republish it in the paper and get it all translated and have that to Navajo County by the 17th.
Because those that were for were going to be against, and those that were against were going to be for, and then it would have just been a mess, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Plus, if this individual decides that they had a conflict, then it erases it all in the first place, correct?
Correct. Everything becomes null and void if that commissioner declares a conflict.
Okay. So pushback. Now we're looking at later time based upon that secondary decision.
Correct.
Okay. So then they rescinded the call for election. That's what actually was rescinded, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So they didn't rescind the original thing that caused the referendum.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So pretty straightforward. Anything else you need to add to that?
I don't believe so. I think it's straightforward.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure that everyone out there understood what was going on, what D.5 was about, and why we're in a pause mode on that election. Hey, that's going to be it for this recap, in depth, of D.5 from the last town council meeting. I'm Rob Hefner for Talk of the Town, the official podcast of the town of Pinetop-Lakeside.